Hello. I am Becs Baker, your host. I am an adopter of two. I discovered very early on in our first adoption that there were no Christian podcasts set within the UK context discussing all things fostering and adoption. On this podcast, we are going to talk to people across the 4 nations of the UK about their stories in relation to all things fostering, adoption, kinship care, supported lodgings, all things vulnerable children. Every story is unique and beautiful as to how God is working in the care system across the UK. If you would like to share your story, please contact us via email or DM us on Instagram. This is Families Made Differently. Hello and welcome to Families Made Differently. This is Becs Baker. I am going to do something a little different this month. I am going solo for our December episode. So last December, I got my mum to interview me so that I could tell you guys a bit of an update about the fact we were adopting our daughter. And in that episode, I shared a bit about the future or what we hope the future would look like, specifically around becoming a host family to an unaccompanied minor. And my mum also asked around the potential of would we adopt another, and that's all I've told you. And then a year's gone by and we haven't really released anything since. However, if you spotted it, I did in July, after my chat with Jack, just celebrating our year of the podcast and a year since we'd adopted our daughter, I did place a tiny Easter egg, a very cute Easter egg, right at the end of that episode. I will play that for you now in case you missed it. Toyan, tell me, how do you feel about if we have another baby?
Yes, 2 babies.
Is Lavea one of those 2 babies, or do you want 2 more babies?
2 more babies.
2 more babies?
Yeah.
So do you want 2 more babies?
Yeah. 2 cats in my room, 2 cats in the way's room.
2 cats in your room and 2 cats in Lavea's room. Where are the babies gonna go?
In the top.
In the cot?
Yeah. 2 down the stairs.
2 cots down the stairs.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had 2 babies in the way's room. We need a tot in the way's room.
And Lavea's gonna move in here into the big bunk bed.
The baby's gonna sleep in the top. 2 tots.
2 cots in Lavea's room, and Lavea's gonna sleep in Toyan's room.
Where's the have 2 tots in the way's room?
Okay, but that'll become the baby's room, won't it? And then Lavea will sleep in Toyan's room.
Hey.
And we'll get a big bunk bed.
I want this 2 cats. Where I'll stroke the other one.
And you want 2 cats.
Yeah.
And you'll stroke one and Lavea will stroke one. Oh, I think Lavea can be gentle. You can be gentle, can't you, Bubba? Are you telling us how gentle you can be? I just can't believe Toyan wants 2 babies. At the time, I have to admit, I was slightly concerned that it was a prophecy. Let me take you back and explain the story. On the 5th of January, 2025, we got a text from our social worker. She had texted us at Christmas, say, Merry Christmas, and this was like her Happy New Year text. She goes, Happy New Year. Let me know when you're around. We need to have a chat. Nothing urgent. That was it. We were speculating, is there another baby? What is going on? Why would she text us so ominously? That afternoon, we were going to sit down and fill in our host family application literally that afternoon because we wanted to get it in the first day back on the 6th of January from Christmas because we were supposed to get it in before Christmas and life got busy. That was our job for the afternoon, but instead we started with a call with our social worker who let us know that there was an unborn baby on the way. Or 2. We didn't actually know at the time, hence the worry about the 2 babies and 2 cats prophecy. And we were told that baby was coming in April, I think. And we were like, great, because we are going to Jordan in the end of March into April. So hopefully it comes later in April, but it'll be fine. We'll figure it out. Then gradually the dates just kept moving forward. Then we were told it was March, the due date was, and it was okay, that changes things. And then it was quite early in March. So then it turned out it was early March, and our trip
to Jordan, I think it was like the 22nd of March or something. And so that all had to be cancelled, which is really sad. But at the same time, we were adding to our family, so that was really positive. And we also managed to get all the money back, which was just a miracle and completely of God, because you never get your flights money back. Like if you cancel your flights, that's money just down the drain. However, I got an email from Wizz Air going, we've changed your flights by like 20 minutes. Is this still convenient for you? And I was like, well, no, actually it's not. So they refunded us. It was amazing. We had to be reassessed. Baby came early as well. He came in February, end of Feb. I went down at the beginning of March and picked him up from the hospital and then brought him home to two very excited older siblings who were just dying to meet him. From that point onwards, we flew to Luton every week to fulfill contact through until the beginning of July. A super intense time on our family, and there was some other stuff going on too, which I will talk about a little later. Fast forward to September, we went to panel and then we became a adoption placement. We are very excited because if you are listening to this podcast on release day, we are putting our papers in for our adoption on Monday to the courts. We are very excited because we are at the final hurdle at this point. We will hopefully have an adoption in early 2026, our third, and I didn't see that coming in December 2024. So that is kind of what has happened this year. We are thrilled to have a third beautiful baby. Our family is full. Jack informs me, completely full, and I am totally fine with that as well. Just to loop back to what I had hoped was in the future for us last December, becoming a host family or a supported lodgings host. I am still hopeful that this is in our future. So currently we are at max capacity in our house, so it will not be happening until we move house. However, there is a chance we will be moving house in the nearish future. Again, I will come back to that in a second. It's kind of a case of we need to increase our house by at least one, ideally 2 bedrooms in order to achieve supported lodgings. But I am hopeful that that is in our nearish future, at least the next 2 to 3 years, if not sooner than that, hopefully sooner. I am hopeful that will be what God calls us to and leads us to next. As you can imagine, one of my biggest concerns going into our third adoption and the fact I was going to be, because I was about to start looking for work. So my plan was, Lavea, our daughter, our middle child, she was starting nursery this last September. We intended to put her into nursery and I intended to go back to work at least on a part-time basis August, September this year. So that was the plan. And then obviously we ended up with a baby in February. So that plan kind of went out the window very quickly. However, I had been struggling quite a lot with the fact I was stuck at home and self-care is like really important. So for me, I was really concerned about that part. I really wanted to prioritize self-care in this time. Some of the things that I did in preparation, going to the gym multiple times a week, and I've continued to do that. Unfortunately, it was hard at times because of the days of the week that contact fell on. Gymming has been like really high on my like essentials in my self-care. I also made sure that I was seeing people regularly, ideally during the day when Jack was working, because it can be really lonely with either a toddler or now with a baby. When we agreed to go into it, I decided to be really intentional with some people and ask them to meet with me regularly and that I was seeing people. And I said to people when I asked them, I was like, would you commit to seeing me every month, kind of on a set day, first Tuesday of the month, every month, first Tuesday, just so we don't have to book it in. I can just program it into my diary, first Tuesday of the month, 9 a.m. every month. So it just automatically is in the diary. So if something comes up and we have to cancel, that's different. It's just automatically bookmarked there so that it is prioritized. I chose like 5 people to do that with, and unfortunately it is dwindled to happening with 1 consistently. I have a feeling it only ever happened with 1 consistently. I'm trying to think who all the people were. No, 2 it was happening with, and then 1 of them dropped off. Some of the people were like, yeah, great idea, I'm all up for that. Never supported me in that, so that was really hard. Some of those people are supportive and want to be supportive. They don't necessarily back it up. I feel like that is a really important learning thing. It is really important that we have a really secure support network. Letting letting people go who aren't actually holding you as much as you hoped and as much as they promised to is okay. That is totally fine, and letting go of those people and not expecting more of them than they can deliver is also okay. I do have one really good friend who has been consistent, and we have actually been a bit bad recently, and she messaged me the other day going, hey, we haven't had something in the diary for like a couple months now. Where are you? Let's get this in the diary. However, Jack has been at home more, so that is why that has ended up happening. We're still talking self-care. I am a crafter, so I just love crafting. And so that's where I find joy. It just fills me up, and baking as well. But the problem is with baking, it fills me up in two different ways, and one of them is not great. But at the same time, it's like if you can get like a little circle of people you like give baking to, that works, because then you don't have to eat it all. So the other thing I ended up doing this year for self-care was I decided to go to counselling. So yeah, it was a really hard year, as you can imagine, with the travel, and we also have a 2-year-old who is quite hard work, and especially when I had her before she went to nursery and I had her in the mornings. She had a big loss when she moved from her foster care placement to us, so naturally she has that trauma and that loss. She is also 2, and we managed to somehow get off easy with our first for their year of being 2. And so it was really challenging, along with the thing I've been avoiding talking about. But I'm not avoiding it, I've just been delaying it. So Jack is a pastor of a church, as has been mentioned a few times on the podcast at this point. And this year, especially like during what was a really tough few months for us in regards to traveling and things like this, and adding another child to our family, things got really tricky at work. It didn't feel like, I'm not actually, you know what? I'm not going to go into the details of what happened really, but stuff got really hard, and it was really hard on us as a family. All the stuff we were carrying with the adoption, we were fostering, but with the fostering and the adoption, and then having the 2-year-old who is being a hard 2-year-old, and church. That is why I decided to go and see a counsellor. And I saw a really amazing counsellor. I spent the entire first session in tears. Like, I cried the whole way through. I came out, however, despite crying the whole way through, I came out feeling lighter, because in that session, she just turned to me and went, wow, you're carrying a lot. And I just felt for the first time really seen for like all that was going on, all that was happening, all the struggle, all the lack of support in a lot of ways. And someone just goes, you are carrying a lot. And it's funny how when you are carrying a lot, you obviously know you are. You know there's a lot going on, obviously. But when someone sees that, it makes your capacity to carry a lot bigger. And so it doesn't feel as heavy as a burden, because someone sees the challenge. Fast forward a little bit to September. The decision was made that we were not managing to see eye to eye with the church that we were leading, and we have stepped back from leading that church. This was a really challenging decision, and there was a lot of hurt for everyone involved. We have ended up in a space and a time that's very unique, actually. Essentially, we are treating it kind of like a sabbatical. We're in a time where we are just completely relying on God. We are sitting and being a bit more. We're doing lots of DIY, which Jack absolutely hates. So that if we are required to move, that we can sell our house and that it's finished. That all happened. So alongside adoption stuff, we have ended up with Jack being out of work. It is interesting because despite the hurt that happened around it to a lot of people, it felt like in some ways such a blessing, because we had been in the storm of it not being easy since January. And it's so interesting, God's timing in these things, because on the 5th of January, Jack started a sermon series at church, which was phenomenal. It was so good. It was so application heavy. It was Bible based and like Bible heavy, but like in a way that like was easy to understand and people could apply to their lives immediately. And he started this series on the 5th of January, the day we got the text that led to the call that told us there was a baby. And that was the day that the series started, that kind of sparked the whole thing off. That was when everything started to change and go wrong at church. And through it all, God held us. God held us through the storm. And then in September, he went, okay, you've done your time in this storm. And although this removal is gonna hurt, and it's not just gonna hurt for you, but it's gonna hurt for the people you love and the people around you, I am going to pluck you out of it and put you in an oasis over here where I can take care of you, where I can hold you, where I can comfort you, where I can provide for you, and I am going to protect you from the storm. And that has been such a huge blessing for us and our family. And despite the hurt, there has been so much relief and comfort found in the oasis. And despite the fact this isn't how we would have written our story, fortunately, we aren't the authors of our story. God is. And God is doing an amazing work in our family. And we have managed to find a church family for this interim period. We have a number of really good friends around us. We have managed to just be in a sabbatical time. We don't know what God has in store next for us. Jack has been approached by 3 churches in regards jobs. The first church contacting Jack actually happened in April. That was when the first church were like, hey, we see potential in you. They had seen the sermon series that he did in January that was so good. And they were like, we see so much potential in you. We've listened to your sermons. Would you consider being part of our like recruitment process? And as much as that, nothing happened with that until after things had come to an end, unfortunately. And there was an element of which we didn't know that we were going to ever step into that process. It was just like a real big encouragement in the middle of the storm. It was just like God was like, you are doing what I've called you to. You are like, I've got you. You are doing a good job. Fast forward to it coming to an end. Jack sharing that with some people, a few people within that group going, well, 2 other churches within that heard about it were like, oh, actually, maybe you could be involved in our discernment process for this position. And so he has been approached by 3 churches, and it just then feels like God's got it. Even if none of those 3 churches pan out into anything, God has a plan for us. God is writing this story, and we don't need to be worried. We don't need to hold anxiety, concern. We don't need to hold the reins either. We don't have to control the situation. Because if we were controlling the situation, it wouldn't have broken apart and we wouldn't have ended up stepping away from where we were. But God has got it, and we are fully trusting and leaning into that. And so, yeah, sorry, that was a long detour out of self-care and counseling. But that was one of the reasons I went to counseling. But that also, obviously, I started counseling during when it was the storm part. And there is times in which we do need it in life. And I think especially where we sit as adopters, foster carers, kinship carers, we are holding a lot. It could be our child's trauma. We could get secondary trauma from their trauma, and we are trying to parent them therapeutically, and then we have our own baggage from the way we were parented, and all these things are at play and fighting within us that sometimes we do need to step out and seek help and seek counseling. That is where I'm going to end on self-care, because January I have got a self-care specific podcast, so I'm not going to steal any more time for that, because we will talk about self-care come January with a very exciting interview, so come back in January. One thing I also wanted to touch on, I did mention that we flew back and forth for contact this year, and the other thing that we had started this year was direct contact, which actually came about because of the contact that was happening. I actually have a really good relationship with our kid's birth mom. Because of that, when I saw her again in the hospital when I went to pick up our youngest, I got the opportunity to show her videos and pictures of our children and just re-establish the relationship, because we hadn't seen her in a couple of years, right? We had our first direct contact with all 3 children and ourselves. September, was it? Or was it August? I don't know. It was around then. So our yearly direct contact. It went amazingly. We literally couldn't have asked for better. The professionals were blown away by how well it went. The kids got on great. Everyone was just really happy. It was a really positive experience. It's interesting because it's definitely like a new area for a lot of social workers. This whole idea of going direct contact, because it's fairly recent research that's been released. It is a very new concept to like have continuous ongoing direct contact. I've probably said this on Families Made Differently previously. From the beginning of our adoption journey, which started in 2019 really. So in 2019, when we kind of started like putting feelers out, the only type of contact that really existed was letterbox. Letterbox was your go-to standard contact. Every child gets it. That's what the recommendation. Full stop. Kind of end of story. However, since then, and then we completed our adoption in 2023, our first adoption, and it was still, that was the recommendation still then. And even kind of when we completed with Lavea in 24, that was still kind of the recommendation. But at that point, that's when things were starting to change. That's when they were starting to move towards, like, their training was starting to adapt around contact being direct and prepping adopters for the potential of direct contact, because that was now the more recommended route to try and sustain it if it is safe and meaningful. So yeah, so a lot has changed in this little like 5 almost 6 year window that we have been in the system. But I think it's really exciting and I am all for it based on how it went for us. I don't see at this point how it could cause issues for us, but like that is specifically with our situation, and like we know our birth parent. I could understand why that could also backfire with like a different birth parent with a different story and all that sort of thing. However, for us and our kids, I really do think this is going to be really good for them and healthy for them. But if you have any other questions on that, please do comment them down below so that I can maybe address them at a different time or on a video on Instagram or something. If you have any questions for any of our guests, really, I could get them to send me a voice note answering the question, and maybe we could do a Q&A episode or something. So if you ever have a question for any of our guests, pop it under the podcast they're in and I will send it over to them and hopefully get them to answer it for you. However, I think that is a very thorough update of our entire lives. We do try and keep it honest and vulnerable here at Families Made Differently. We want to hear the good, bad and the ugly from our guests, because there is always good, bad and ugly, and so we try and give that to you as well, especially in this world that we find ourselves in fostering adoption and kinship care and supported lodgings. It is a really hard place to sit for so many people, and I would hate for people to think that it's always sunshine and roses. And I would hate for someone to hear stories and only ever hear the positives of everyone's lives and go away going, oh, is it just me struggling in this area? There are so many of us struggling in a variety of ways. It might be behavioral issues. It might be jail time. It might be drug issues. The list goes on and on and on about how our children struggle. And I don't want us to shy away from the struggle. We do have a hope, and his name is Jesus. And we try and spend our lives sharing and discipling our children to find that hope for themselves. Ultimately, we are trying to share the hope that we have with our children because we don't want them to miss out. However, that doesn't take away the challenge, and that doesn't mean the hard stuff isn't hard. that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll come back in 2026 for starting with some self-care, and then hopefully lots more amazing stories to fill out the entire year. If you would like to share your story, please do get in touch. I would love to speak to a kinship carer, but we are very aware your day-to-day can go up and down in a second, and your whole world can be turned upside down instantly. So the stability of it doesn't always allow for the confidence to share your story. But if you're involved in any way in the lives of vulnerable children in the UK, across the 4 nations of the UK, Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland, or England, please do get in touch. Every story is unique and beautiful, and we do want to hear it here at Families Made Differently. And as I've said, we want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. Thank you. Take care.
Please make sure that you follow us on Instagram and turn on your notifications wherever you listen to your podcasts. Families Made Differently releases a new episode on the first Friday of each month at 9 a.m. Please comment on the podcast or slide into our DMs with your favourite bits, what inspired you, any questions you have, or if you too would like to be involved. We really appreciate your listening ears and continued support. This was Families Made Differently, the podcast designed to share stories from Christians in the UK whose lives and families have been shaped by fostering and adoption.